In a world where Hollywood relationships often flame out as quickly as they ignite, where marriages dissolve faster than sugar in rain, and where till death do us part seems more like a suggestion than a vow, there exists a love story so genuine, so enduring, and so beautifully unconventional that it has captured hearts for over 4 decades. This is the story of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, 2 megastars who found something more precious than fame, more valuable than fortune, and more lasting than any Oscar could ever be. They found each other. But this isn't just another celebrity romance. This is a tale of patience, of second chances, of choosing love every single day without the binding contract of marriage. It's a story that began with a teenage boy and a young woman on a Disney set in 1966, lay dormant for 17 years, and then exploded into one of the most beautiful partnerships Hollywood has ever witnessed. This is the story of Kurt and Goldie, a love that has weathered storms, raised children, created art, and proven that sometimes, the best things in life are worth waiting for. The year was 1966. America was in the midst of cultural revolution. The Beatles were conquering the world, miniskirts were scandalizing parents everywhere, and Walt Disney Productions was filming a wholesome family musical called The One and Only, Genuine, Original Family Band. On that set, destiny was quietly arranging its first meeting between 2 souls who would eventually become inseparable. Kurt Russell was just 16 years old, a fresh-faced teenager with sandy blonde hair and the kind of all-American looks that made him perfect for Disney's roster of young talent. He had already been acting since age 12, appearing in television westerns and family-friendly productions. He was earnest, hard-working, and ambitious, the son of actor Bing Russell, learning the craft from the ground up. Goldie Hawn, on the other hand, was 21. A bubbly, effervescent dancer and actress from Washington, D.C., with an infectious laugh and blonde curls that seemed to capture sunshine itself. She was on the cusp of stardom, her natural comedic timing and girl-next-door charm already turning heads. She had recently arrived in Hollywood, full of dreams and determination, dancing her way toward what would become an illustrious career. When their paths crossed on that Disney set, something registered. Not romantic love, not yet. Goldie was 5 years older, already establishing herself in the industry, while Kurt was still technically a kid. But she noticed him. Years later, Goldie would recall thinking he was adorable, but much too young. There was an energy about him, though, something memorable. Kurt, for his part, was struck by her presence. You couldn't miss her, he would later say. She just had this energy about her. They shared scenes, exchanged pleasantries, and then went their separate ways. It seemed like just another passing encounter in the transient world of Hollywood. But fate, as it turns out, was simply biding its time, waiting for both of them to grow, to live, to love, to lose, and to finally be ready for each other. After their brief encounter, Kurt and Goldie's lives diverged dramatically. They would both experience tremendous professional success, personal heartbreak, and the kind of growth that can only come from living fully and sometimes falling hard. For Goldie, the late 1960s were transformative. In 1968, she landed the role that would change everything, a spot on the groundbreaking sketch comedy show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. With her bikini-clad go-go dancing, her ditzy blonde persona, and that unforgettable giggle, Goldie became a sensation. America fell in love with her. She became a household name almost overnight, her face appearing on magazine covers, her style copied by young women across the country. But Goldie was far from the ditzy blonde she portrayed. She was smart, savvy, and hungry for serious acting roles. In 1969, she proved her dramatic chops in Cactus Flower, playing opposite Walter Matthau and Ingrid Bergman. Her performance was so outstanding that she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress at just 24 years old. Goldie Hawn wasn't just a pretty face, she was a formidable talent. Her personal life, however, was more complicated. In 1969, she married dancer and choreographer Gus Triconis. The marriage lasted only 5 years, ending in divorce in 1973. It was a painful experience, one that would make her cautious about marriage in the future. But Goldie was resilient. She threw herself into work, starring in films like Butterflies Are Free, The Sugarland Express, directed by young Steven Spielberg, and Shampoo. In 1976, Goldie married again, this time to musician Bill Hudson of the Hudson Brothers, a popular musical trio of the time. The couple seemed happy initially, and they welcomed 2 children, Oliver in 1976 and Kate in 1979. These children would become the lights of Goldie's life, but her marriage to Bill was troubled from the start. There was jealousy, tension over her success and his relative lack thereof, and fundamental incompatibilities that no amount of love could overcome. By 1980, the marriage was over. Bill filed for divorce, and in an act that would cause lasting pain, he essentially walked out of his children's lives. Oliver and Kate Hudson would grow up with a biological father who was physically and emotionally absent, a wound that would take decades to even begin healing. Meanwhile, Kurt Russell was carving his own path through Hollywood and heartbreak. After his Disney days, he transitioned from child actor to adult star, a notoriously difficult feat that claims many careers. But Kurt possessed something special: genuine talent, incredible work ethic, and a rugged charisma that translated beautifully on screen. He worked steadily throughout the 1970s, appearing in television and films, honing his craft. In 1979, he married actress Susan Hubley, whom he met on the set of the TV movie Elvis, where Kurt delivered a career-defining performance as Elvis Presley that earned him an Emmy nomination. In 1980, Kurt and Susan welcomed a son, Boston Russell. But like Goldie's second marriage, Kurt's union with Susan was not meant to last. The pressures of 2 acting careers, the demands of Hollywood, and perhaps simple incompatibility led to their separation in 1981 and divorce in 1983. Kurt found himself a single father, navigating the complexities of co-parenting while building his career. By the early 1980s, both Kurt and Goldie had achieved considerable professional success. Both had experienced the pain of divorce. Both were single parents trying to do right by their children. Both had learned hard lessons about love, commitment, and what really matters in life. And both were about to meet again, 17 years after their first encounter, this time as equals, as wounded souls ready for something real. In 1983, Hollywood magic was about to happen, though not in the way anyone expected. Director Jonathan Demme was casting his film Swing Shift, a romantic drama set in the 1940s about women working in aircraft factories during World War II. The film needed a strong female lead and a charismatic male co-star. Goldie Hawn, by then an established movie star and producer, was attached to the project. For the male lead, someone suggested Kurt Russell. When Goldie heard that Kurt might be auditioning, she had a vague memory of the teenage boy from the Disney set all those years ago. She was curious to see what had become of him. Kurt, meanwhile, knew exactly who Goldie Hawn was, everyone in America did, but he hadn't thought much about their brief teenage encounter years before. The audition day arrived, and Kurt showed up worse for wear. The night before, he had been out drinking with his father, Bing Russell, and he was, in his own words, severely hungover. He walked into the room where Goldie was waiting to discuss the role, squinting against the 2 bright lights, his mouth dry, his head pounding. And then he saw her. Goldie Hawn, at 37, was even more beautiful than she had been at 21. There was a depth to her now, a warmth and wisdom that came from years of living. She smiled at him, and despite his hangover, Kurt felt something shift inside his chest. They began talking about the role, about the script, making conversation. And then, in a moment that would become legendary in their personal history, Kurt, battling his hangover and perhaps emboldened by the lingering alcohol in his system, blurted out what might be the worst pickup line in the history of Hollywood romance. "Man, you've got a great figure." The words hung in the air. Kurt immediately realized how crude, how inappropriate, how absolutely terrible that sounded. He began to backpedal, stammering, and it kind of came out quickly and it could have been wrong. But Goldie, instead of being offended, laughed that famous Goldie Hawn laugh, genuine and delighted. "Why, thank you," she replied, her eyes twinkling with amusement. In that moment, something clicked. There was chemistry, undeniable, electric chemistry. Kurt got the role. As filming began on Swing Shift, that chemistry only intensified. They were both single, both parents, both veterans of Hollywood's ups and downs. They understood each other in ways that went beyond words. Between takes, they would talk for hours about their lives, their children, their dreams, and disappointments. They made each other laugh. They made each other think. They made each other feel seen and understood. For Goldie, watching Kurt interact with the crew and other actors, she saw something that touched her deeply. He was kind, respectful, hardworking, and genuine. There was no ego, no pretense. Just a good man doing his job and doing it well. But the moment that sealed it for Goldie came one day on set when she observed Kurt with some of the children who had small roles in the film. She saw his patience, his gentleness, the way he treated them with respect and care. In that instant, Goldie thought, "This is the man I want to be with. This is the man I want around my children." For Kurt, the attraction was immediate and grew deeper every day. Goldie's laughter, her intelligence, her fierce love for her children, her refusal to take herself too seriously despite her enormous success, all of it drew him in. She was real. In a town full of artifice, Goldie Hawn was authentic. One evening after filming, Kurt asked Goldie out. Not for a business dinner or a group gathering, a real date. She said yes. Their first official date has become the stuff of Hollywood legend, not because it was glamorous or perfectly romantic, but because it was hilariously, wonderfully imperfect, and it perfectly set the tone for their relationship. Kurt planned to take Goldie to the Playboy Club for drinks and dancing. It was a popular spot at the time, sophisticated and fun. They were both excited, that nervous kind of excitement that comes with the possibility of something real. They settled into a cozy spot, ordered drinks, and began talking. The conversation flowed easily, both of them relaxing into each other's company. They laughed, they flirted, they shared stories. The attraction was palpable. And then, they started dancing. As they moved together on the dance floor, the chemistry was undeniable. They were drawn to each other magnetically. The music, the atmosphere, the connection they were feeling, it was all building to something. And that's when Kurt felt it. A sharp, stabbing pain in his lower back. He tried to ignore it, but with each movement, it got worse. His face must have shown something because Goldie noticed immediately. "Are you okay?" she asked, concerned. Kurt tried to play it off. Yeah, I'm fine. Just need to sit down for a second." They returned to their table, but the pain wasn't subsiding. In fact, it was getting worse. Kurt, Mr. Smooth, Mr. Romantic, Mr. Trying to impress Goldie Hawn, was having a medical emergency. He had somehow thrown out his back. What happened next could have ended the relationship before it truly began. Kurt had to tell Goldie that not only could he not continue their date, but he literally couldn't drive himself home. He needed her help. Instead of being disappointed or annoyed, Goldie immediately shifted into caretaker mode. She got Kurt to her car, drove him to her home, and got him settled on her couch. Then, in what Kurt would later describe as one of the sexiest, most caring things anyone had ever done for him, Goldie proceeded to take care of him. She got him ice for his back, made him comfortable, and stayed with him, talking and laughing despite the absurdity of the situation. They ended up talking all night. Not doing anything romantic or physical, Kurt was in too much pain for that, but connecting on a deeper level. They shared their fears about relationships, their hopes for the future, their concerns about their children, their past hurts and disappointments. They laid everything bare, two wounded people discovering that maybe, just maybe, they could heal together. By morning, Kurt was in love. Not just attracted, not just infatuated, in love. And so was Goldie. Years later, Kurt would say about that disastrous first date, "I think one of the reasons our relationship has been so successful is that we got the really important stuff out of the way on the first night. We talked about everything that mattered. We saw each other at our most vulnerable. There was no pretense, no game playing. Just two real people trying to figure out if this could work." It could work. And it would work beautifully. As their relationship deepened, Kurt and Goldie faced the most important test of any romance between parents, introducing their children and building a blended family. Goldie had Oliver, who was 7, and Kate, who was 4. Both children were dealing with the abandonment of their biological father, Bill Hudson, who had essentially disappeared from their lives after the divorce. They needed stability, love, and a positive male figure who would show up consistently. Kurt had Boston, who was 3, living primarily with his mother Season but visiting regularly. Kurt was determined to be an active, present father in Boston's life despite the divorce. This could have been a recipe for disaster. Blended families are notoriously difficult to navigate. Children can be resentful of new partners, jealous of attention, confused about loyalties. Ex-spouses can cause tension. Scheduling can be a nightmare. The statistics for blended family success are not encouraging. But Kurt and Goldie approached it differently. They didn't rush. They didn't force anything. They let the children set the pace. Kurt's first meetings with Oliver and Kate were casual, low pressure. He didn't try to be their dad right away. He was just Kurt, a kind, funny man who made their mom laugh and who seemed genuinely interested in them as people. He asked them questions about their interests, played with them, treated them with respect. For Oliver and Kate, who had experienced the pain of their father's abandonment, Kurt's consistent presence was revolutionary. He showed up. Every time. He came to school events, helped with homework, taught them things, listened to their stories. He was patient with their wariness, understanding of their fears, and unwavering in his commitment. There's a story that Kate Hudson has told many times about the moment she knew Kurt Russell was going to be her real dad, the one who mattered. She was about 5 years old, and she had a dance recital. It wasn't a big deal, just a small thing at her dance school, but she was nervous and excited. Bill Hudson had promised to come but, as usual, didn't show up. Kate was heartbroken, trying not to cry as she scanned the audience for her absent father. And then she saw Kurt. He had come. He was sitting in the audience, beaming with pride, ready to watch her perform. After the recital, he brought her flowers and told her how wonderful she was. From that day forward, Kate Hudson considered Kurt Russell her father in every way that mattered. Oliver had a similar experience. When he was about 6 years old, Kurt asked both Oliver and Kate if they wanted to be adopted, if they wanted to legally become his children. It was an offer made from the heart, from a man who loved these kids as if they were his own blood. Oliver and Kate, being young children, didn't fully understand what adoption meant legally, but they did understand something important. Kurt's love for them wasn't conditional on paperwork. He was already their dad in all the ways that counted. They declined the formal adoption, not because they didn't want him, but because they already had him. Years later, Oliver would say, "Kurt came into my life when I was 6, 5 or 6, and essentially he raised me. I'm the man I am today because of him." There was a moment when he asked us, myself and Kate, if we wanted to be adopted, and we said no. We didn't need it. The love was right there. In 1986, Kurt and Goldie's family expanded in the most beautiful way. Goldie became pregnant with their child. On July 10, 1986, Wyatt Russell was born, a son who would have the blessing of being raised by 2 parents who were madly in love, along with 3 older siblings who adored him. The family was complete: Boston, Oliver, Kate, and Wyatt. 4 children, 2 parents, and a home filled with laughter, chaos, love, and unwavering support. One of the most remarkable aspects of Kurt and Goldie's relationship has been their ability to work together professionally while maintaining their personal connection. Many couples find that working together creates strain, but for Kurt and Goldie, it seemed to deepen their bond. In 1987, they starred together in Overboard, a romantic comedy that would become a cult classic. Goldie played a wealthy, spoiled heiress who falls overboard from her yacht and loses her memory. Kurt played a working-class carpenter who, fed up with her previous rudeness to him, convinces the amnesiac heiress that she's actually his wife and the mother of his 4 chaotic sons. The film was funny, touching, and showcased their incredible on-screen chemistry. But what made it special was how much of their real relationship shone through. The tenderness between their characters, the authentic laughter, the gentle teasing, it was all Kurt and Goldie, barely acting. Goldie later said about making Overboard, "The best part of the movie was working with Kurt, not because I loved him and not because he's endlessly talented, but because we got to be together all day. We never got sick of each other. If anything, we just wanted more time together." The film performed well at the box office and has remained beloved by fans for decades. Even now, people discover Overboard and fall in love with it, drawn to the genuine connection between the leads. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Both Kurt and Goldie continued their successful solo careers while maintaining their relationship. Kurt starred in films like Backdraft, Tombstone, Stargate, and Vanilla Sky. Goldie appeared in Death Becomes Her, The First Wives Club, Everyone Says I Love You, and numerous other films. They supported each other's work, attended premieres together, and never let professional jealousy or competition enter their relationship. When one of them had a big success, they both celebrated. When one faced a disappointment, they both commiserated. They also made important decisions together about their family and careers. They agreed that they wouldn't both work on location away from home at the same time. One parent would always be with the kids. They prioritized family dinners, school events, and creating a stable, loving home environment despite their Hollywood careers. They purchased properties that became family havens, a beautiful home in Pacific Palisades, California, with room for the whole blended family, a ranch in Snowmass, Colorado, where they could escape the Hollywood chaos and enjoy nature, a beach house in Malibu where the sound of waves provided a constant soundtrack to their lives. These weren't just houses, they were homes, filled with the evidence of a life well lived. Kids' artwork on the refrigerator, family photos on the walls, sports equipment scattered in the garage, and always the sound of laughter. One of the most frequently asked questions about Kurt and Goldie's relationship is, why haven't they gotten married? In a society that often equates long-term commitment with marriage, their choice to remain unmarried for over 40 years is seen as unusual, even radical. But for Kurt and Goldie, it's the secret to their success. Goldie has been wonderfully candid about this decision over the years. In a 2015 interview with Porter magazine, she explained, "A lasting relationship isn't about marriage. It's about compatibility and communication. And you both need to want it to work. If you need to be bound to someone, then it's important to be married. If you have independence, you can be yourself and not sacrifice yourself. And that's when the love really takes off." She expanded on this in other interviews, revealing something profound about human psychology and relationships. "I like the idea that I can wake up in the morning and make a decision every day if I want to be in this relationship. For me, that is more liberating. That freedom is important. I think it's kept us together." Think about that for a moment. Instead of being bound by legal obligation, by societal expectation, or by the complications of untangling a marriage, Kurt and Goldie choose each other every single day. They wake up and actively decide, yes, I want to be with this person. Yes, this relationship brings me joy. Yes, I'm choosing this life. There's something beautiful and terrifying about that freedom. It means they can't coast. They can't take each other for granted. They have to continually nurture their relationship, communicate openly, and treat each other with respect and love. Kurt has a slightly different, more Kurt-like take on it. In various interviews, he's joked, "You get with Goldie Hawn, you got a good chance." But he's also been serious about the importance of their arrangement, noting that having gone through divorces, both he and Goldie understood that a piece of paper doesn't guarantee commitment or happiness. There's also a practical element. Both Kurt and Goldie had experienced the pain and complication of divorce, the legal battles, the division of assets, the formal dissolution of something that had once been filled with hope. They simply didn't want to risk that again. By not being legally married, they removed that particular source of pressure and complication. But beyond the practical and philosophical reasons, there's something even simpler. Their arrangement works for them. They're happy. Genuinely, deeply, consistently happy together. After 40+ years, they still light up when they see each other. They still make each other laugh. They still prioritize time together. As Goldie put it perfectly, "I would have been long divorced if I'd been married." Marriage is an interesting psychological thing. If you need to be bound to someone, then it's important to be married. If you have independence, you can be yourself and not sacrifice yourself. You can let yourself evolve. And that's what's happened to us. Beyond the red carpets and movie premieres, beyond the Hollywood glamour and the magazine covers, what does Kurt and Goldie's love actually look like in daily life? According to their children and close friends, it looks a lot like any long-term relationship, only with more laughter and less taking each other for granted. They start most mornings together with coffee, catching up on news, discussing their plans for the day. They text each other throughout the day when they're apart, not constantly, but enough to stay connected. When one of them is working on a project, the other is supportive and interested, asking questions, offering encouragement. They have date nights. After all these years, they still prioritize time alone together. Sometimes it's dinner at a nice restaurant. Sometimes it's just walking on the beach. Sometimes, as Goldie has suggested, it's booking a hotel room, even though they have a perfectly good home, just to break the routine and keep things fresh. They have their own interests and friendships, which they consider essential. Goldie has her meditation practice, her charitable work with the Goldie Hawn Foundation, which focuses on children's mental health, and her close friendships. Kurt has his passion for sports, his interest in wine, they own a vineyard, and his own circle of friends. They also have shared passions. They both love spending time with their grandchildren, traveling, experiencing new restaurants and cultures, and most importantly, making each other laugh. The laughter is constant. Friends who've spent time with them report that being around Kurt and Goldie is like being at a comedy show where both performers are always on and always cracking each other up. They tease each other good-naturedly, tell embarrassing stories about each other, and genuinely enjoy each other's company. They also fight, of course. 40 years together without conflict would be inhuman. But they've developed healthy ways of dealing with disagreement. They talk things through. They don't let resentments fester. And crucially, they remember why they're together in the first place. Goldie has shared her approach to conflict. When you argue, you need to remember why you fell in love in the first place. What is it about this person that made you want to be with them? Hold on to that, even when you're angry. Kurt's approach is slightly different but equally effective. He tries not to take things too seriously. Pick your battles, he said. Not everything is worth fighting about. And sometimes, the best response is just to make her laugh. Perhaps most tellingly, they still have physical affection. Not just behind closed doors, though Goldie has been famously frank about the importance of good sex in keeping their relationship alive, but publicly. They hold hands. They touch each other casually, a hand on a back, a brief shoulder squeeze, sitting close together. These small physical connections communicate something important. I'm here. I choose you. We're together. If Kurt and Goldie's relationship as partners and parents has been beautiful, their evolution into grandparents has been nothing short of magical. Between their 4 children, Kurt and Goldie now have 8 grandchildren. Kate Hudson's 3 children, Ryder Robinson, born 2004, Bingham Bing Horn Bellamy, born 2011, and Rani Rose Hudson Fujikawa, born 2018, Oliver Hudson's 3 children. Wilder Brooks Hudson, born 2007, Goldie Hawn Hudson, born 2010, and Rio Laura Hudson, born 2013, Wyatt Russell's 2 children. Buddy Prine Russell, born 2021, and Boone Joseph Russell, born 2024. Kate and Oliver frequently post photos and videos of their children with Pa, Kurt, and Gogo, Goldie, and the love is palpable. Kurt can be seen wrestling with the kids, teaching them things, listening to their stories with rapt attention. Goldie is often photographed with her arms full of grandchildren, her famous smile somehow even brighter than usual. Both Kate and Oliver have spoken about how incredible Kurt and Goldie are as grandparents. They're present without being overbearing. They spoil the kids with attention and love but respect their children's parenting decisions. They create special memories, trips to the Colorado ranch, beach days, holiday celebrations that the grandchildren will remember forever. Wyatt Russell has joked that his children have won the grandparent lottery, noting that Kurt and Goldie bring the same fun, loving, present energy to grandparenting that they brought to parenting. For Kurt and Goldie, these grandchildren represent something precious: legacy, continuity, and the opportunity to experience the pure joy of children without the constant responsibility of raising them. They can spoil the kids and then send them home. They can teach them important things without the daily grind of homework battles and bedtime negotiations. But more than that, watching their children become parents has given Kurt and Goldie the opportunity to witness the success of their parenting philosophy. Kate, Oliver, and Wyatt are all devoted parents, creating loving homes for their children. They learned that from watching Kurt and Goldie. In 2024, at 78 and 73 respectively, Kurt and Goldie are in what many would consider the golden years of their life together. They're still working occasionally. They both appeared in Netflix's The Christmas Chronicles films, but mostly they're enjoying the fruits of their decades-long partnership. A beautiful family, financial security, the respect of their industry, and most importantly, each other. No love story spanning 4 decades is without its challenges, and Kurt and Goldie have faced their share. There have been career pressures, the demands of Hollywood, time spent apart on location, the stress of public life. There have been health scares. Aging comes with its challenges, and they've supported each other through various health issues over the years. They've dealt with the pain of watching their children struggle. When Kate went through her very public divorce from musician Chris Robinson, Goldie was there. When Oliver has been open about his childhood trauma related to his mother's busy career and his father's abandonment, both Kurt and Goldie have been supportive. In 2024, Goldie revealed that they had experienced 2 home invasions in recent years, a violation of their sanctuary that prompted them to sell their Los Angeles home and move to Palm Desert. The trauma of someone breaking into your home, of feeling unsafe in your own space, is profound. But they faced it together, made decisions together, and moved forward together. They've also faced the normal challenges of long-term relationships: monotony, changing interests, the evolution of physical intimacy as bodies age, and the question of how to keep things fresh after decades together. But what's remarkable is not that they've faced these challenges, every couple does, but how they've faced them. Together. With open communication. With humor. With grace. And with the fundamental understanding that they're on the same team. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2020, forcing the world into lockdown, many relationships were tested to their limits. Couples who were used to spending time apart suddenly found themselves together 24/7. Divorce rates reportedly spiked. Even strong relationships felt the strain. But for Kurt and Goldie, quarantine together was pretty great, actually. During an interview in May 2020, Goldie opened up about their experience in lockdown. "This is a great time to just really be together. We're together all day. We're cooking. We're talking. We're laughing. It's actually been wonderful." She was also honest about the emotional toll of the pandemic, revealing that she sometimes cried 3 times a day because of concern for the world, for people who were suffering, for the collective trauma humanity was experiencing. But she had Kurt by her side, supporting her, comforting her, being her partner through it all. The pandemic reinforced what they already knew: they genuinely like each other. Not just love, like. They enjoy spending time together. They don't get bored of each other's company. After 40 years together, they still find each other interesting, funny, and good company. For many couples, the pandemic was a breaking point. For Kurt and Goldie, it was further proof that they'd built something strong, something resilient, something real. Over the years, Kurt and Goldie have shared their wisdom about relationships, offering advice that comes not from theory but from lived experience. Here are some of their key insights. On independence, you have to have your own life. You can't just live through your partner. Have your own interests, your own friends, your own passions. That makes you more interesting to your partner and keeps you from becoming resentful. Goldie. On physical intimacy. Good sex matters. It creates connection. It creates belonging. Don't let that part of your relationship die just because you've been together a long time. Keep it alive. Goldie. On humor. Learn to laugh together. Laugh at yourself. Don't take everything so seriously. Life is short. Have fun with the person you love. Kurt. On communication. Talk about everything. The uncomfortable stuff. The difficult stuff. Don't let things fester. Address problems when they're small before they become big. Goldie. On choosing each other. Remember that you're choosing this person every day. If you approach your relationship that way, you'll put more effort into it. You'll appreciate it more. Goldie. On partnership. You're a team. When one of you succeeds, you both succeed. When one of you struggles, you both work through it together. It's not you versus them, it's both of you versus the problem. Kurt. On keeping things fresh. Do unexpected things. Go to a hotel even though you have a perfectly good house. Take a trip somewhere new. Break your routines. Keep surprising each other. Goldie. On respect. Never stop respecting your partner. That's the foundation of everything. If you lose respect, you've lost the relationship. Kurt. On not sweating the small stuff. Pick your battles. Not everything needs to be a fight. Some things you just let go. Kurt. On gratitude. Be grateful for what you have. There are people who would give anything to have what we have. Don't take it for granted. Express your gratitude often. Goldie. As of 2025, Kurt Russell is 74 years old, and Goldie Hawn is 79. They have been together for over 42 years, longer than many marriages, longer than some people's entire lives. They have built something extraordinary together, a loving partnership, a blended family that actually works, successful careers, and a relationship that has become an inspiration to millions. Their love story matters because it's real. It's not a fairy tale where everything is perfect. It's not a Hollywood romance that exists only on screen. It's two imperfect people who found each other, chose each other, and keep choosing each other every single day. In a world that often seems cynical about love, that treats commitment as disposable and relationships as temporary, Kurt and Goldie stand as proof that enduring love is possible. Not easy, possible. It requires work, communication, compromise, humor, forgiveness, and a fundamental commitment to growing together rather than apart. Their story teaches us that love isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about choosing an imperfect person and building something beautiful together. It teaches us that marriage isn't what makes a relationship sacred. Commitment, respect, and genuine affection are what matter. It teaches us that blended families can work beautifully when everyone leads with love. Most importantly, Kurt and Goldie's story teaches us that it's never too late for real love. They first met when he was 16 and she was 21, but they didn't fall in love until they were 33 and 38 respectively. They'd both been married. They'd both experienced heartbreak. They'd both been disappointed. But when the timing was right, when they were both ready, they found something extraordinary. And they're still finding it, every day, in the small moments and the big ones, in the laughter and the challenges, in the ordinary days and the special occasions. Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. Two stars who found something brighter than any spotlight, each other.